In our rapidly changing world, where uncertainty seems to be the only constant, many people find themselves searching for an anchor, something that can provide stability, inner peace, and practical guidance for navigating life's inevitable challenges. Surprisingly, this anchor might be found not in modern self-help trends or cutting-edge psychology, but in an ancient philosophy that has weathered over 2 millennia: Stoicism. Far from being a dusty academic subject, Stoicism offers a robust framework for living that is as relevant today as it was in the bustling markets and marble halls of ancient Rome and Greece. The common misconception about Stoicism is that it advocates for emotional suppression or passive acceptance of life's hardships. In reality, Stoicism is about action, purpose, and the cultivation of inner strength. It teaches us that while we cannot control every aspect of our lives, we possess absolute power over how we choose to respond to circumstances. This fundamental insight forms the foundation of a philosophy that can transform not just how we think, but how we live. The first principle that emerges from Stoic wisdom is the crucial practice of focusing on what lies within our control. Consider the everyday frustrations that plague modern life. Traffic jams that make us late for important meetings, negative comments on social media that ruin our mood, or weather that disrupts our carefully laid plans. The natural human response is often anger, frustration, or anxiety. Yet the Stoic philosopher Epictetus offered a revolutionary perspective when he declared that it's not what happens to us, but how we react to it that matters. This insight finds support in modern psychology as well. Carl Jung, a towering figure in psychological thought, expressed a similar sentiment when he stated that we are not defined by what happens to us, but by what we choose to become. The practical application of this principle can be transformative. When stuck in traffic, instead of fueling stress through horn honking and irritation, we can choose to use that time constructively listening to educational content, enjoying music, or simply practicing mindfulness. The external situation remains unchanged, but our internal experience shifts dramatically. Building upon this foundation, Stoicism teaches us to embrace obstacles as opportunities for growth. This perspective runs counter to our natural inclination to view challenges as barriers to our happiness and success. Marcus Aurelius, the Roman emperor who doubled as a Stoic philosopher, captured this beautifully in his personal writings. The impediment to action advances action. What stands in the way becomes the way. This isn't mere philosophical wordplay. It represents a fundamental reframing of our relationship with difficulty. When faced with job rejections, for instance, the Stoic approach transforms potential despair into a pathway for professional development. Each rejection becomes feedback, pointing towards skills that need improvement or strategies that require refinement. Personal conflicts, while uncomfortable, become opportunities to practice patience, empathy, and communication skills. This shift from victim mentality to active learning stance represents one of Stoicism's most powerful contributions to personal development. The practice of living in the present moment, while not exclusive to Stoicism, receives particular emphasis in this philosophy. Marcus Aurelius counseled against dwelling in the past or dreaming of the future, instead advocating for concentrated focus on the present moment. This isn't about ignoring future planning or past lessons, but about recognizing that life actually unfolds in the now. The richness of experience, the beauty of simple moments, and the power to make meaningful choices all exist in the present. Modern psychology has validated this ancient wisdom, showing that mindfulness and present moment awareness contribute significantly to mental health and life satisfaction. The practice begins with simple awareness, savoring each bite when eating, noticing the ground beneath our feet when walking, or listening actively in conversations instead of planning what to say next. These seemingly small acts of attention accumulate into a richer, more meaningful existence. Self-discipline, often misunderstood as rigid restriction, actually represents empowerment in the Stoic framework. It's about making choices that align with our deepest values and long-term aspirations rather than succumbing to momentary impulses. Whether it's maintaining a workout routine, avoiding impulse purchases, or focusing on important projects instead of endless entertainment, self-discipline creates the foundation for achieving what we truly want most, rather than what we want right now. Marcus Aurelius reminded us that we have power over our minds, not outside events, and that recognizing this truth leads to strength. Seneca advocated for controlling our desires, rather than being controlled by them, understanding that true freedom comes from within. The development of self-discipline isn't about perfection, but about progress, small, consistent choices that gradually build the character we aspire to embody. Emotional resilience represents another cornerstone of Stoic practice. Life inevitably brings storms of emotion: anger, sadness, frustration, fear, and the Stoic approach isn't to suppress these feelings but to develop skillful ways of working with them. Marcus Aurelius taught that while we cannot control external events, we maintain power over our minds and responses. This doesn't mean becoming emotionally numb. It means developing the capacity to feel deeply while responding wisely. The development of emotional resilience begins with self-awareness mindfully, observing our emotional reactions without immediately acting on them. When strong emotions arise, the Stoic practitioner learns to pause, acknowledge the feeling without judgment, and then choose a response that aligns with their values and long-term well-being. This process transforms us from being at the mercy of our emotions to becoming skillful navigators of our inner landscape. One of Stoicism's most profound practices is memento mori, remembering that we will die. Far from being morbid, this remembrance serves as a powerful catalyst for living more fully and authentically. When we truly internalize the temporary nature of our existence, trivial concerns lose their grip on us, and we become more focused on what genuinely matters. Marcus Aurelius frequently reflected on life's transients, not to create anxiety but to inspire deeper appreciation for each moment and more intentional choices about how to spend our limited time. This awareness of mortality encourages us to live with greater authenticity, to express love more openly, to pursue meaningful goals rather than postponing them indefinitely, and to appreciate the beauty present in ordinary moments. It's a reminder to make choices aligned with our deepest values, rather than getting caught up in petty concerns or external validation. The practice of gratitude forms another essential element of Stoic wisdom. Rather than constantly focusing on what we lack or desire, gratitude shifts our attention to recognizing and appreciating what we already possess. Marcus Aurelius often wrote about the privilege of being alive, of having the capacity to breathe, think, enjoy, and love. This isn't naive optimism but a realistic acknowledgement of the genuine gifts present in our lives. Developing a gratitude practice can be as simple as reflecting daily on 3 things we appreciate, from basic comforts like warm coffee to deeper experiences like meaningful conversations or natural beauty. This practice literally rewires our brains to notice positive aspects of our experience, creating a foundation of contentment that external circumstances cannot easily shake. The Stoic emphasis on personal excellence focuses not on comparison with others but on becoming the best version of ourselves. Marcus Aurelius advised wasting no time arguing about what a good person should be, but instead focusing on actually being one. This principle encourages us to set personal standards based on our own values and aspirations, rather than external expectations or others' achievements. Personal excellence involves embracing challenges as opportunities for growth, maintaining resilience in the face of setbacks, and living authentically according to our deepest convictions. It's about taking pride in our efforts and progress, rather than seeking perfection, and recognizing that our character is built through countless small choices, rather than dramatic gestures. In our social media-saturated age, the Stoic principle of not caring what others think offers particularly valuable guidance. This doesn't mean becoming indifferent to feedback or inconsiderate of others' feelings, but rather grounding our self-worth in our own integrity and values rather than external validation. Marcus Aurelius observed the paradox that while we love ourselves more than others, we often value others' opinions of us more than our own self-assessment. True freedom comes from being the author of our own life story, making choices based on our authentic desires and values rather than trying to meet others' expectations or gain their approval. This involves regular self-reflection to ensure we're living our own lives rather than performing for an audience, and developing the courage to be vulnerable and authentic even when it's not universally appreciated. Accepting change represents another fundamental Stoic practice. Since change is the only constant in life, learning to flow with life's inevitable transitions becomes essential for maintaining peace and happiness. Marcus Aurelius taught that we should accept whatever comes to us as woven into the pattern of our destiny, recognizing that each change, whether initially perceived as positive or negative, has its place in our larger story. This acceptance doesn't mean passive resignation, but rather active engagement with life's dynamic nature. By expecting change and viewing it as natural rather than problematic, we can respond to transitions with greater grace and less resistance. Every change brings opportunities for learning, growth, and new experiences, even when those opportunities aren't immediately apparent. The cultivation of compassion and empathy forms another essential aspect of Stoic practice. Marcus Aurelius taught that human beings are social creatures by nature, meant to live in harmony and cooperation. The metaphor of the hive and the bee illustrates how our individual well-being connects intimately with the well-being of others. Seneca emphasized treating others with kindness and generosity, recognizing that compassion represents a natural human instinct and that helping others ultimately helps ourselves. Practicing compassion begins with truly listening to others' stories, experiences, and feelings, making genuine efforts to understand their perspectives even when we disagree with their actions. Small acts of kindness, a smile, a kind word, a listening ear can significantly impact someone's day and contribute to creating a more compassionate world. Finally, the practice of regular reflection and review provides the mechanism for integrating all these principles into daily life. Marcus Aurelius modeled this through his personal writings, taking time to examine his life, decisions, and moral compass. This isn't about harsh self-criticism, but about developing self-awareness and consciously steering our lives toward our ideals. A simple daily practice might involve spending a few minutes before sleep reflecting on the day. What went well? Where did challenges arise, and how did we respond? What opportunities for growth did we encounter? This process of regular self-examination helps ensure that we're actively shaping our lives according to our values, rather than simply reacting to circumstances. The beauty of these Stoic principles lies not in their complexity, but in their practical applicability to modern life. They offer a framework for transforming stress into growth opportunities, challenges into character development, and ordinary moments into occasions for gratitude and presence. Rather than promising easy answers or quick fixes, Stoicism provides tools for building the inner strength and wisdom necessary for navigating life's inevitable ups and downs with greater grace and resilience. These ancient teachings remind us that while we cannot control external events, we possess tremendous power over our responses, attitudes, and choices. In developing this internal locus of control, we discover a source of strength and peace that no external circumstance can diminish. The path of Stoic practice is not about reaching a final destination of perfect wisdom, but about embracing a lifelong journey of growth, reflection, and conscious living. In a world that often feels chaotic and unpredictable, these timeless principles offer both anchor and compass, grounding us in what truly matters while pointing toward a life of greater authenticity, resilience, and fulfillment. The wisdom of the Stoics continues to speak across the centuries because it addresses the fundamental human challenges that transcend any particular era. How to live well, how to face difficulty with courage, and how to find meaning and peace in the midst of life's inevitable complexities.